4 years after people. Some cities have fallen victim to floods. While water's initial attack can be brutal, the real devastation often comes after a long-term siege. With no one to repair the damage, homes succumb to decay, while the foundations of buildings slowly erode. It's a future that's already visited New Orleans. On the 28th of August 2005, the storm waters of Hurricane Katrina overwhelmed the levees and tore through the city, destroying 160,000 homes. Four years later,
you can see where the water line was from Hurricane Katrina. It's a little less than 2 feet below the eaves, which means that it's a little more than 17 feet above the ground here.
The mud and debris have been cleared, and the 270 floodgates and 520 miles of levees have been fortified. New homes are being built. But recovery has lagged in some parts of the city, giving us a grim preview of a life after people. Almost 20,000 people once lived here. A few were celebrities, like rock and roll legend Fats Domino. Others were part of the lifeblood of New Orleans, staffing the hotels and playing music in the cafes. Many lost almost everything they had to Katrina. 4 years later, fewer than 20% had returned.
Hurricane Katrina destroyed houses to the point that they couldn't be repaired, and just washed people out of here.
The ruins of these homes are a warning to other flood-prone communities. The roof of this home buckled and broke under the flood's weight as the waters surged in from above and through walls and windows.
This is a typical wood-framed house that you would find in the lower 9th Ward or St. Bernard Parish. The water was about 16 feet high in this area, and I would have put a lot of forces on the wood. This is almost 4 years later, and after it was initially gutted, probably very little's been done. It's continued to deteriorate.
But one material has endured the destructive power of water. The ceramic tile bonded to the hidden concrete slab may be the last part of the house to go. The clay and water compound has been sealed with a chemical glaze that keeps out heat, moisture, and bacteria. Most ceramics combine elements like oxygen or nitrogen with aluminium, calcium, or silicon. They have a strong crystalline atomic structure which resists moisture. Around the world, ceramic tiles have kept out water and decay for centuries.
I predict this floor will be here for hundreds of years. I don't feel any hollow sound under there, so come hell or high water, I think this floor will be here.
Although intact, the floor will soon be buried by what's left of the roof.
Maybe a good gust of wind will hit it and knock it over the rest of the way, because it doesn't have a lot of residual strength in it. Once the bricks fall over, the frame isn't going to have a lot of resistance to wind. But if it's just left as it is, I predict that if you come back in 10 years, it'll be a pile of rubble on the ground. It could happen next year if we get a major hurricane.
Between the 18th century and the first decade of the 21st century, New Orleans suffered a dozen direct hits from hurricanes and severe tropical storms. But drainage pumps always dried things out, and the people always rebuilt.
Hurricane Betsy was in 1965. The area that we're in now got about 8 feet of water. I lived a couple of miles to the east in St. Bernard Parish, and we got 3 feet of water in the house. And our neighborhood probably took about a year to recover. But Hurricane Betsy was nothing like Hurricane Katrina. Hurricane Katrina was 10 times worse.
Many homes in St. Bernard's Parish today not only bear the marks of Katrina's savagery and man's neglect, they show the spread of a microscopic predator that infests all homes threatened by water. High moisture levels encourage the growth of mold spores. Of the more than 100,000 kinds of mold, the most common species associated with domestic water damage in homes is the black, slimy Stachybotrys. It decomposes the drywall and the wood beneath, undermining the structure of the walls and ceilings, leaving the apartments more vulnerable to the hurricanes that are guaranteed to strike again.
If you come back in 20 years, the buildings will probably be piles of rubble on the ground, and you'll have trees and vines growing over the top of them.
20 years after people, the 7,000-foot sea wall protecting the center of Seattle from the salt waters of Puget Sound is about to give way.
Downtown area of Seattle at one time was a salt marsh. Seawalls were built to keep the tide from coming up and into the town.
First built in 1934, the wall's wooden supports have long been undermined by flea-sized 14-legged crustaceans called gribbles. To feed their need for nitrogen, the seagoing gribbles chew through timbers to eat microorganisms in the wood. Gribbles wrecked 2 of Columbus's ships in 1502 and ate through all the exterior wood on the sunken Titanic. Now, the gribbles have doomed the Seattle seawall. Uncontrolled seawater rushes in, turning much of the center of Seattle back into a saltwater marsh.